Thanks a lot for that. I'd like to ask the second speaker to come up. Luis Antonio de Amelo, a researcher or autonomous from Brazil. He's going to present gvSIG analysis of disputes, remote disputes in elections between 2000 and 2014 in Salvador. Please. Firstly, I'd like to say thanks to the gvSIG Association for being here. Secondly, I'd like to say I'm sorry because my Spanish is not very well. Please be patient with me. This is the first stage of work which has been carried out in Brazil. gvSIG, the analysis of disputes for votes in the elections between 2000 and 2014 in Salvador, Brazil. The objective of this work is to understand geographic understanding of the dynamic of votes in political parties during 8 elections in Salvador, which is the capital of Bahia, Brazil. Salvador is located in Bahia, the state of Bahia, northeast of Brazil. It's a city which is two million 700,000 inhabitants. It's the 4th biggest population. The study began with recollection of official data, all the votes, all the candidates, all of it is registered in the electoral tribunal, which controls and organizes the elections. With the data collected, we treat the data because it's coarse data is this. So what we do is we treat this data to be able to link them to the graphic files. So we identify the electoral results in the main political parties in 20 electoral colleges. This is divided into 20 voting sites, and in each electoral site there are dozens of sessions. The study in the first stage is only with the areas or the zones. The solutions to be taken so there are 2 strengths which are always struggling, fighting against each other. To help with this analysis, we have the municipal votes for the government, to the municipality, and then the state, the central state, which is above the municipal level, and above the state we have the federal level. So there is a mandate of 4 years, but the government also has a 4-year mandate. But they never meet each other. For example, in 2000, the election was for Alcate. His mandate lasted until 2005. In 2002, there's another election for the governor, and in 2002 to 2006. So we're always here. There's always a concordance, coexistence, which is rather big. It's very useful, I think, for the municipal government, the state government, to be from the same party. But not always does this happen. In my study, the date from the 2 elections, which make a local study, in other words, from the municipality. This study is, in fact, to trace strategies for the Alcate campaign of 2006. Many things in Brazil don't work very well, but the marketing political studies work very well, the surveys. So we draw up maps where we localize where each candidate has more or less votes. And the study is in 8 elections. So the disputes began, the struggle began. We take a look from the left to the right. In 2000, a force was divided into red and blue. Blue is the right, red is the left. In 2000, the blue forces were dominating. They were together with the state government. They're very traditional parties, these. So we can see that the state is quite well spread out through the north and the south. And we take a look at the red. There's only a small concentration in the middle of the state. With a darker, more votes we have, both for the blue and for the red areas. In 2002, we have elections for the government. So what happens in this situation? The blues, Perga, they lost their force in the elections, and the reds, as you can see, with the losing spatial influence. In 2004, you can see that the blues are going down, and the red are also losing, because there is a third power which is coming up from another party here, which doesn't have much tradition, but takes advantage of certain opportunities to manage to, with popular promises, they managed to win the election. And so the dispute wasn't between blue and red. In that year, it was between blue and yellow. In 2006, we had the elections, the state elections. It was for the first time the Red Party managed to get a majority vote, but as they are state elections, they didn't win the municipal government. They only had a greater voting capacity, greater votes. In 2008, it could be said that the blue forces are much more weak than the red forces, but once again the yellow forces enter and manage to win the elections. We possibly see a little bit more in the north. We have the yellow forces are stronger and darker in this region. These are the poorer regions, where the problem areas are, rundown areas. So the yellow forces had won the elections in 2004, and all the elections, they made some more roadworks which were necessary in these areas, and therefore they managed to win more than once. In 2010, the disputes for the government, the state government managed to win over the red forces. The blue forces are losing their power, but it's possible to see that in the blue they have a lot of power. Then the blue is where the most powerful people, the people who have higher incomes, are in the south. In 2012, it's possible to see a perfect separation here between the right and low-wing and the left-wing voters. It's quite clear in the elections of 2014 also. All of the candidates have now got their own areas which are defined in the municipal sense. If we take a look now, from top to bottom, we can see the dynamic which accompanies each party has in winning or losing votes. In 2002, we can see how the blues are distributed mainly in the north, but in 2002 they are going down. In 2004 they don't have more voters in the north. In 2006, 8, 10, 11, and then 2012 it's consolidated. Their voters are consolidated in the south. As far as red is concerned, we can see that in 2002 they were concentrated mainly in the middle of the municipality. In 2002 they managed to extend their number of voters. In 2006 their voters are now coming up. In 2008 they are better, more spread. In 2010 and 2012, 2014 they're more concentrated in the northern area of the municipality. These are which are where people who have a lower income. And the yellow factor was so important because of their popular speeches, they managed to get the votes, to take away votes from both the Reds and the Blues, and to win the elections in 2012 and 2008. Data from 2012 and 14 is very important for the disputes of 2011, 2006. Here it's possible to find the areas where we can find where the votes are. There are the regions which are darker, where the voter is now convinced and is certain about who he or she is going to vote. But the intermediate colours are the ones where they've got regions where there's a possibility of changing the vote. So in these regions, they are in the point of view of all the marketing department, of all the political marketing departments. And they also, if they're analysed for economic reasons, they are the incomes of the voters and their political convictions are very, 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 very linked. So it makes, when you do an easy analysis with the voters' data, we can get information which is extremely strategic. Here we also have a map of renda, where the darker colours are the concentration of people who have higher incomes, with better education, etc. And on the right, we have something which is extremely important. I don't know if it's common in Europe, but in Brazil, the ethnic condition of a person is extremely important. And you can observe here the concentration of these people of the Branca ethnic and the people from the black ethnics, because there is a dispute which exists in the campaigns. There are specific strategies for these people, for black people, specific strategies. This is one of the most important things about this. The votes, null votes, votes in white, and abstentions. Somebody simply decides not to vote. It's a lost vote. The person is going to visit his family, for example, is going to go on a trip and doesn't appear in the polling station. The null votes means that the person goes to the polling station and votes and makes a null vote on purpose. So there is a possibility for this person, there's a possibility this candidate can actually win over this candidate, because he's going to go to the area to vote. Now the candidates, the voters who voted in white votes, there is also a great chance of them being convinced, of being able to win over these voters. So all the politicians try, therefore, to convince their voters, who always votes, and try to win over these null votes, or the votes in what. So what about the benefits of the candidates? We've got the greater increase in voting in over 14 years. So we can understand the way that the voters are thinking here. We also identified the areas which have got greater probability of change in the vote. There are regions where it's easier to convince the voter to change parties. We also assess the electoral impact of works, huge works like the Yellow Party, for example. They located their road works, bridges, etc., in specific areas. Then they find the voters, they find the incomes of each of the voters. Then they try to draw up thematic maps because the marketing and politics don't like numbers. They prefer graphs. And now they prefer maps. And then we've got then we'll take a look at the regions with with the greatest number of votes, of null votes, and votes which are made in blank. We also have an aid for strategic planning for the campaign for mayor or mayoress in 2015. Many thanks.